Welcome back to the Lim Bances Podcast. Today, I have someone incredible, special with me, a woman who blends elegance, creativity, a heart with everything that she touches. She's not just an interior designer with over 15 years of experience. She's a powerful entrepreneur, a visionary, and honestly, one of the most beautiful souls I ever met. She's the CEO of Samaan Design Group and SDGC. Please welcome our beautiful, amazing, my friend, Kathy Samaan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Lim.
No. Thank you. And I know a lot of people, they see you around in social media. By the way, your social media, your presence is so impressive.
Thank you.
Like, I don't like girls, but if I decide to go the other route, you're gonna be the first person that I look at. But you really inspire me with your fashion, with your looks. I love it. Who works on your social media?
So I used to have a PR company that was doing my social media. I just took it back over, and I try to just do things that I love. Like, I don't know, we all do. Like, I'm inspired by fashion. They influences my designs, and I actually studied fashion before I did interiors. And so a lot of that comes from that background. Okay. And my creative director, Madison's incredible. So she does like all the branding components and all that fun stuff. But sometimes it's like me out on the field, like on sites.
You're
just
natural.
Taking fun, like little photos or videos. And it's like, okay, like I'll just throw them together when I have some time.
So before we start this interview, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Single, married?
So newly single.
Please follow on Instagram if you're looking. Well, you have to be smart and you have to be rich in order to apply. Just to apply.
You're hilarious. And I have like 2 little boys. I've been running this business for almost 5 years now. I started in construction. I'm not sure a lot of people know that component. Right. But, I love what I do.
We're going to get to that point too. What do you feel when you see this picture?
Oh, my heart.
I love them. They're so cute.
Thank you. They're like my heart. And it's funny. I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today, a very close friend of mine, and she's just turned 39. And she's like, I don't know, should I have kids? And I was like, listen, from somebody who didn't want kids who now has them, it's like the biggest, most incredible blessing and journey of self-growth you will ever do in your entire life. And so if it ever came down to it, I would 100,000% do it exactly how it happened. Like I would never, ever change
How old?
Eli just turned 12 and Charlie's about to turn 6. So
wow, that's amazing. What is the best memory advice that comes to your mind when you see a picture of your mom? Let me just show you a picture of your mom.
Oh my God. I love that picture.
I'm so prepared. Look at me. I'm doing my homework.
You stalked my social media. I love this.
I was like, I have to surprise her.
So
best advice from your mom.
Okay, so the best advice my mom ever gave me, to just follow my heart. I think that she is super intuitive like I am. She gets these like downloads sometimes, and I think that it's her heart instinct more than her gut instinct. And I feel like I operate that way. And I think that when you're really connected to your heart and your soul in that manner, you can't really go wrong. There's no wrong missteps. There's no things that you do incorrectly. They're just experiences. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from my mom.
I would love to meet her one day.
Yeah.
When I saw the last property that you designed in Madison, I was completely shocked.
Okay.
And how does it feel like with you design, you adding from $300,000 to $600,000 on the builder's pocket? Yeah. What do you feel?
I mean, great. Who doesn't want to make more money?
Of course. So that's why they pick you all the time.
Yeah.
And every single design is different?
Yes.
With every single builder?
Yeah. Every single builder has a different market that they're working in. We help them set themselves apart, from others. So what we typically see in markets that we study before we do a builder packet is everything's the same. The builders are like, I don't want to spend a lot. Just give me a basic packet and what have you. But then what they miss is the upside potential of how much more equity they could put into their pocket by doing something that's a slightly more custom and sets you apart. If there's 6 houses on the market and they all have subway tile and you come in and you do something really cool and different, people are going to fight for that house. And here's the reason why. Everything else feels the same. But when you've put a little bit more sauce in there, you feel something different when you walk in. You're like, oh, I could really see myself like at this stove with this beautiful backsplash, or I can see myself at this vanity that's like so luxe, or you have this feeling that you get when you walk in.
And I did have that feeling because I wish I could take you to my house. My house, it looked like a hospital. Everything is white. But the minute that I walk into that property, like every single detail, like the lighting, the flooring, I mean, everything. It was perfect.
Thank you.
So that's why, I mean, builders, they love you.
Yeah.
I know you always talk about neuroscience and how spaces can heal the body.
Yeah.
Why the connection between design and healing is so important to you?
I think we're all a little bit on that journey of healing. I come from immigrant parents, and
where are you partly from, by the way?
My father is Syrian and my mom is half Syrian, half Greek.
Okay.
And so they immigrated here like 40 years ago or something now, like a long, long time ago. And for me, part of healing was like unlearning some of the things that I did growing up and regulating my nervous system and doing all these things. And as I was studying, interior design, all of these components layered in for me. I've always loved science. I was always like somebody who, cherished learning. And so through bringing those two components together, you can really like move people's lives in such a visceral way by allowing them to heal through their space and their connection.
Right.
And so that's what we're all doing, I think.
Yeah.
Even with you.
Right.
I
really want to thank you in front of 50,000 people that is going to watch this video. Because you designed my office, and I really want to thank you because you know how much you charge me? Not 20, not 50,000, zero. Like zero. Like having that type of heart, it is difficult to find friends like you. But it's not just taking advantage of your friend. It's like we are sharing the same vision. We're love to help.
Yeah.
And I was telling Amanda, especially in this business, it's so hard to find loyal friends.
Yeah.
Friends who really gonna care about you.
Yeah.
And you're one of them. I really want to thank you for putting your heart. Like, you are so incredible. And from Amanda, I think you are the second person who has the most beautiful heart. That's why I love you. You're amazing. Okay. And tell us about your 2 sons. Do you think they're going to follow your footsteps?
I don't know. And for me, I never want them to feel like they have to.
Right.
My older son is very artistic. He always is drawing something and using his creativity in so many ways. And my younger son has my energy.
I love it.
So, I mean, maybe they'll go into construction. Maybe they'll do something, that's sort of a family business. So I would love to see them step into those, roles. But I just want them to be happy.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, whatever they decide, I just want them to fully own what they're doing. Like, you could be a garbage man. Just be the best garbage man you can be. Like, be exceptional at what you're doing, no matter what that is. For me, that's more important.
I tell my daughters, you have to do what you love to do because you're going to be happy the rest of your life. But you need to have real estate on your side as a plan B, just in case.
Okay.
Because, I mean, they already know in the business. My oldest daughter, she does all the financial for the office. So she already knows how much money is coming in and out, right? So she have an idea.
Yeah.
And she asked me, Mom, I want to buy my first property. I was like, listen, you better start saving.
Yeah.
Stop, because she just overspent.
Okay.
I mean, but I think it is important that, they see you already. They see you that you're designing. They see you that you're in the construction, because we're going to talk about your family business that you have, about everything that you're building in Passaic County. But it would be great if they could follow your footsteps, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you see this picture,
Oh God! Wait, I need to
tell me the best memory. Have you ever been bullied at school?
Oh, so much.
Really?
Oh, so
Tell
much.
us about it. I want to hear.
Talk about healing. This. You know, I used to like hate the fact that I looked different. I went to like a primarily like white school. I was also Catholic, as you can tell from my uniform.
Right.
And I wasn't. We're Greek Orthodox. And so I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere, really.
Wow.
It was like at home, I wasn't Arab enough or Greek enough. And then at school, I'm like not white enough. And, you know, you feel different. I've always felt different. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I love that I'm different. But when you're 8 years old,
yes, of
you're
course.
like, why am I so different? And this feels so awkward. And all of those moments, I love that happened to me because it made me who I am, and it allows me to stand out and do what I love and like chase all the things that I want to do and inspire other people. And when I look at her, I'm like, I wish I could tell her to just be okay with being so different.
Right.
I wish
I
that
love
like
that.
You know what I mean?
Right.
When you're a little kid, you don't realize what you're going through
Yes.
is super hard. And like your story inspires me so much.
Oh, thank you.
Because like I didn't even go through anything like that. And I'm like, oh, that's like incredible that you're able to come into yourself so fully. So I love that.
Oh, I wanted to surprise you. I'll try very hard.
This was the best surprise.
Let me ask you. I know you're very close to Amanda.
Yes.
Our beautiful sister.
Yes.
I think Amanda changed my life completely. And we made a promise the other day that nobody, like nothing, is going to separate us, because I think having her around, it is the most beautiful gift that we could have. So you're close to Amanda. What does sisterhood means to you in your personal and professional life?
Okay. So on a personal level, having her in my life has completely shifted so many things for me. On a spiritual level, my connection to God. And I think like woman to woman, having somebody who can just hear in your voice that you're not okay and show up for you. And that goes both ways. Like I can tell when she's like, yeah, I'm fine, but she's not.
Right.
And she can tell when I'm fine. And sometimes we look to our significant others to fill that role, but that's really a role for your best friend.
Right.
That's for the person who can really hear you and feel you, because as a woman, we feel things differently than our partner would, right? And to have that on a personal level is deeply something that you feel in your heart and soul as safe, right? Like this person, if I call them in the middle of the night because I'm stuck on the side of the road, they will answer. And like, yes, your partner will do that for you too, but it's okay to have that camaraderie and that sisterhood and that beautiful like essence to share with one another. And there's some personal things sometimes that you're going through that are hard to share with a guy, even a guy friend.
Right.
So, you know, there are moments in your life when you can really turn to a sister like that and be like, hey, I'm going through this. It's super hard. Can you sort of be here for me? And it's that safety and that beautiful time of womanhood and appreciation for one another.
She's so lucky to have you in her life.
Thank you. I'm lucky to have her. I'm lucky to have you.
Let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back to your first design, the first job that you designed. Do you remember who was your first client? Well, let's go first with your first design. How was it?
So my first client, like in the business, or do you want to know the first time I ever designed something?
You ever designed something?
That was me.
It was for you. I know. You started at your age of 20 and I know, I heard that. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. So at the time I was married, I got married really young at 20. And
20?
Yeah, I was married very, very
Girl,
young.
you just want to get out of your house.
Yes. I love you, Dad. But so we bought a foreclosure property at the time because my family's in real estate. And so I was like, I think this was 2010. So I was like, I want to buy a foreclosure. We looked everywhere, found a property that was one of the nicest homes in that entire neighborhood, but it was being foreclosed on. Right. And so we bought it cash and we started reno on it. When we sold it 3 years later, we not only got, I think it was like we made like 60 or 80,000 on it, and we hadn't really put a significant amount in.
Back
it was
then, it was
back then, that's a lot of money. So we did it that first time, and then we moved, and we did it again. And I think what I fell in love with was the fact that I could take my creativity from inside of my brain and like tangibly do things in physical. Like I was the one laying tile. I was the one who set the grout. Like I was doing things physically. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. And I could get into that zone of genius where you're just in flow in such a visceral way and like a tactile way. And so I was like hooked. I was like, I need to do this all the time.
Wow.
So I was always doing something in the house. So you just find your
passion right there.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I know you value transparency a lot. What do you do when clients say, do whatever you like?
Oh, that's the hardest. That's hard.
Right. Because at the end, they start complaining or not.
It depends. There's different components to the way people operate, right? And then this is not really a design question. It's more of a personal, like, who is this person? What do they need? And understanding their needs is what really sort of diffuses that unknowingness that they're having, right? So when you're tackling a client like that, it's like, do whatever you want. Okay, great. I will. But is it going to be something that resonates with you at the end? Is it the way that you like to live? Is it the way that, this art inspires you? Is it like what brings you peace?
Right.
What are we trying to feel in our space? Then I can do whatever I want because then I can say, hey, if you want to feel peace, all right, so let's bring in this texture or this color and this, thing that'll make you feel really like safe and comfy and warm and peaceful. But if I don't know anything and you're just like, hey, do whatever you want, that doesn't work for me.
Right.
I need
that's
to
what
know.
I heard. Yes.
Yeah. And that's really hard. But as a designer, that's your job. Your job is to understand the needs of somebody else. And just like what you do, you bring in the needs of what that client is looking for to buy. I'm doing that on the back end. When they buy this home, now let's really make it something that's functional for you to live in on a day-to-day basis.
Do you ever had an unhappy client?
I have. That was very hard for me.
Can you tell us about it?
I can tell you like components of it. It was something that I took on at the time that I didn't quite fully understand. And it was a great learning process. Right. So from that, the takeaway I took from that was let me hone in on what the real requirements are for that client to feel what they need to feel. And I had to understand that sometimes clients don't want options. They need you to fully own your expertise and be like, you need to do this and only this. And when I fully understood that, then I was like, oh, I was actually tackling that client in the completely wrong way than what they really needed. And it comes back to the same thing. They needed something that I wasn't fully comprehending.
Right.
So they were unhappy because I wasn't fully stepping into my expertise and being like, hey, you should do this specific thing. I was like, oh, well, you can have these two options. They're like, well, we're really looking to you to tell us what we should really select here. So, and that's just a small example of how that project really played out. And then I felt like for them, they sort of lost their trust in a way because I wasn't saying, you need to do this thing.
Right.
And I thought that was me being nice or me allowing them to have a little creative control, but that's not what they were looking for. So,
in your experience, who makes the decision? The woman the wife or the husband?
It depends.
Right?
I think it depends on the couple dynamic.
Okay.
sometimes the woman's making the decisions, but if the man is paying fully, he wants a say.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a balance. I think most designers feel like we're a little bit of a therapist for couples.
It's the same thing as real. I mean,
I'm
as
sure.
an agent, we're therapists too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they come in and they're like, help us figure out, I want this and she wants that. And they're going back and forth.
Right.
And you're like, okay, well, what's important to both of you that we can align with? And it's the same.
Do you ever witness a dilemma between clients?
I have.
Don't say names.
Who hasn't?
I know. Like me, especially the business that we focus on, like divorce, foreclosures. I mean, we have that all the time. It is sad, but I mean, like we said, we also are therapists for our clients.
Yeah.
What is the most emotional client reaction you have ever witnessed?
Oh, I've had two.
Uh-huh.
One, it was a beautiful woman who actually, they were both in Morristown.
Really?
Which is where I live now. That's so funny. I live here, but obviously I work all over the country. And this particular client was somebody I took on. It was maybe my third project. And she wanted this very specific design. And it was like, she loved the 70s. She wanted Bollywood. She wanted all these like vibrant colors. And she let me unleash my creativity. And she cried when she saw it.
Really?
She cried, like full on cried. And I mean, I got so many text messages like, thank you so much. Everybody that walks into my home feels like it's exactly who I am. And like, you represented me in like every possible way. Mm-hmm. And it was because I really connected with who she was and like what she wanted that allowed me to do that for her. And it showed. And she's like, I entertain all the time. I love having people here. I like fully love being in my Zen space. Like every part of her home felt like her. Mm-hmm. And viscerally, I could feel that in like the way that she was so grateful and thankful for what happened. And then the other one was a really beautiful family that I actually did only 2 rooms for them. But the husband wanted to keep certain pieces from his family's dining set. And there was this back and forth. And I was like, listen, I'm going to make you love these pieces, even though the wife didn't really love them. I was like, I'm going to make you fall in love with these pieces because of everything else we're doing in this space. Mm-hmm. And there were certain things that I pushed for that she was unsure of. And when it all came to fruition and she started enjoying her space, I got this beautiful handwritten card that was like paragraphs. Wow. And I was so touched. I cried. I was like, I'm so happy. And I sent her a text. I'm like, I'm so happy that you guys are having memories in the spaces and like enjoying everything so much. It brings me joy to see other people having joy.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then you say, I mean, thank you, God, for putting me in this position, because if you could make a difference in someone's life, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned that you're working not only in the States, but you're going to different countries.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. I get inquiries from everywhere, and design is such I want to say like a limitless space that we can work in other countries as long as we have our resources set up. Right. And so, last year I was invited to go on a trip to Italy for Salone, which was amazing. And I now have vendors there.
Impressive.
Thank you. And it's part of what we do. Like, I love to explore London, and I like to go to Italy, and I like to go to all these places that have so much rich, not just culture, but architecture, design, like different components, things we can bring back, not just to here, but apply in all the other ways. And I think a big part of travel for a lot of designers is so that we can gain perspective and we can work in other markets. Like, I'm talking to someone right now that is helping me break into the Dubai market. Like, there are things that I want to do and accomplish that I'm working on, right? And it offers a new perspective. It offers the ability to take also my heritage and now bring it into my designs in a different way. And so I'm like very excited for all of these things.
That's amazing. So how do you find these clients? There are referrals, or you just...
Referrals. I work with a lot of amazing agents all over who have set themselves apart in other markets as well. And because I do really high-end design, which I don't talk about a lot because a lot of those clients want their privacy. Like we've designed like 15, 20,000 square foot homes. We just can't fully
Disclose
share
it,
those
right.
things. And so it's great that we get to have those experiences, even though they're behind doors, because there's so much expertise that comes into play during those things, good and bad.
Right. If you will pick an artist or somebody famous to design their home, who will you pick?
Oh my gosh.
Besides Lim Bances.
You're on the top of the list, Lim. Oh boy, this is a hard one.
Yeah, I know. Maybe they call you. I mean, we have so many followers.
If it was a guy, it'd have to be Henry Cavill because he's my celebrity crush and I would love to design his house, bring in some like cool masculine energy.
I love that.
Like a woman, maybe Gwyneth Paltrow, even though she has an incredible home already. I just love her. I think she brings like such a cool, interesting perspective to life. And I would love to connect with more people who have like these different ways of seeing the world. So, yeah.
Are you getting there?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I saw a video you posted on YouTube. You made that video like 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Oh, boy.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
And, I see how much you've grown. I see the difference. Like God has a bigger plan for you. Like the vision that you have is amazing. So we're going to talk about a little bit about your team, your branding. So whenever you design businesses, right? What is the must-have when designing a business space?
So that's a completely different thing. And I love talking about this because I've owned other businesses and I work with a lot of business owners. So the main component is actually dissecting who your client is and what the client needs. And then also understanding who your brand is trying to not just be, but embody. So if I'm working with a brand like Lim Bances, right? You have a very specific personality that we'd like to bring into the physical space. You are like vivacious, you're vibrant. And so we want to bring those components into the way we design a commercial space because we want them to feel like you're there even when you're not.
Right. I love that.
Right?
It's amazing.
Yeah. And that's a different way to think. And you're also allowing the person who's walking in to feel something visceral within themselves. And like we did a cafe here in Short Hills, which is close by. And we took their logo and their brand and really like infused it into the space, and it was like featured on TikTok. So we cut up like foam pineapples and we threw them on the wall and we did all this really fun stuff because their brand was something fun and different that the community didn't have before. And so you're really infusing personality and client need into that commercial space and understanding that this may need to be replicated. Right? If we're talking about somebody who has a bigger vision too, and they want to open multiple locations, well, that flagship has to be really solid and understand that this may be replicated for other locations. And so making sure that the components can all work together, even if we change up the flow of the space.
And that's the impression that everyone has when they walk into my office. I was like, Kathy was here. Do you work with a lot of businesses? Or you do more residentials?
I think it used to be a 50-50 split. And now it's a little like 60-40, but I love working with businesses. I grew up, like my dad owned stores. Like I grew up in that space and I love doing that side of the business. It also keeps me on my toes. Because if I'm just working on residential, I can get bored. But if I get to do branding for, let's say, a boutique hotel or do this brand where I get to open up these storefronts, now I get more juice flowing. I get different things I get to incorporate, my brain starts to work differently and pull, things in that I may not have used in the residential space that I can use in a commercial space. You're not going to have a house where you're going to throw foam pineapples up on a wall, right? Then that's my most visceral thing, because when people walk into that cafe, all the kids want to touch it.
Wow.
And on top of that foam wall, we also did a big logo in a neon sign for them. And so like that's the thing that gets shared and reshared all the time on their social media and other people's social media. And it's such a brand moment. And you have to keep those things in mind when you're doing a commercial space.
Wow, that's beautiful. I would love to visit that place.
Yeah, we'll have to go. I'll take you. We'll get coffee, pliables, whatever.
But I'm pretty sure you don't do this. You don't do this alone. Tell us about your team.
My team is amazing.
Aww.
And I've got local teammates and we have international teammates.
Really?
And so for me, what I love about the way that I've restructured the business in the last 2 years is I can actually run my business from anywhere.
I love it.
And that freedom allows me to travel, to do all these fun things. So I can take those perspectives and those new experiences back into the business. And my international people bring such a fun twist to what we're doing because they're also experiencing things from another country all the time. So they bring in different perspectives and having that not only unity, but that like different human experience component coming in, like somebody from Thailand or somebody from India or somebody from Italy, somebody from here, somebody from there. And we bring all these things together and now we have, 15 different perspectives rather than just me. And obviously I'm running it, but there are things that are more collaborative in my business that weren't when I started because it was just me.
Right.
So it's understanding that collaboration is an amazing thing. Obviously, I'm overseeing everything and I audit everything and I go through everything every day, but having that flexibility and bringing all these different people and their perspectives into the business has been amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Do you remember when you hired your first assistant?
Oh, yeah.
Not fire, hire. Both. That would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, so it was funny. I was working by myself and I started like picking up business and I was like, I really need help. And there was somebody who had inquired about doing, which is funny to me now and I'll tell you why later. But they wanted a wet room. And at the time I was like, what the heck is a wet room? And I know I knew it was from Japanese culture. And so I called up a friend of mine who grew up in Japan, but she's American. She's like a blonde girl, adorable. I love her. I've been friends with her for years. I called her up and I was like, hey, I know you grew up in Japan. What the heck's a wet room? And so we sat on the phone for like 2.5 hours and she walked me through all this stuff. I was like, oh, this is amazing. I need to do this. So I was like, hey, are you looking for a part-time job? And she's like, sure. So I hired her because I knew she was super organized and she had run somebody else's business. And she moved and she was looking for part-time work. And it just worked out that I had hired her off of one phone call. And I don't always recommend that. And especially hiring a friend, it tends to usually not work out. But she's worked for me for 5 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
And she left for a little while and she's come back and we're still great friends because we leave business to business and works like friendship to friendship stuff. And I think when you can separate and understand business is business and friendship is friendship, things tend to be fine. And the roles were really clearly defined early on. And I think that's where people—
And the values too, right?
Yeah. The values massively impact everything. Yeah. So.
And when you fire someone, you remember your first fire?
Oh, yeah. That was brutal for me. Well, because you're like, they need to leave, but you also know that the repercussions of them leaving also leaves all that extra stuff back onto your plate. So you're like playing tug of war.
Right.
You're like, I know you have to go, but I don't want to let you go. And your mind is like, it's going to be so hard. Your mind plays tricks on you where it's like, it's going to be so hard to have this person exit the business.
Right.
And you're like, you've worked for me for 3 years or whatever it is. You sort of play these scenarios. And the trick is, and I've learned this now, is to turn that off. It's never as bad as you think it's going to be. Just pull the Band-Aid off. The fact that you're procrastinating pulling the Band-Aid off makes it worse.
Right. Of course.
So
because you're going backwards.
What was yours?
Oh my God, that was the worst experience. I mean, the first was the hardest. Yeah. But then after that, it's like, okay, you fire. It's easy, right? The first is the toughest one.
It really
Yes,
is.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What is? Do you think you? I know what in one of the videos that I heard from you is that you want to create a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why is that? Why you have? I mean, I know everybody has that goal, but it has to be something in the back end. Why you want to accomplish that goal so bad?
2 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One, to have more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most entrepreneurs at the root of why we want to build is typically some type of freedom to live the life that we want regardless of what's going on. So that's the first component. And the second component for me is because I think a lot of young girls, especially girls that are from immigrant families, I think especially girls that come from an interesting background, we don't necessarily always feel like we can do the things that we want to do. And I want more little girls like myself, like your daughters, like my cousins and my nieces and all of these, and my children too, to know that they can do anything they want to do. I want to help more kids understand that they can have more than what they think they can. And the only thing that's stopping them is their limiting belief. And the more we show them, the more they can follow in our footsteps, the more they can step into who they are and stop being afraid to want more, to be bigger, to be louder, to embrace who they are. And I think that because of growing up, being bullied, going through what I went through, I can fully let other people in my life and other little girls and little boys understand that it's okay to be different and be who you are and love those awkward moments.
Right.
And I talk about them all the time because I want more people to hear that I was super insecure. I wasn't this vibrant person.
Right.
And like you said, 4 years ago, you saw a video of me and you've seen my growth. I think I also probably should share more, but I remember doing my very first photo shoot. I had to take a shot of I don't even drink. I had to take a shot of vodka to get in front of the camera. And I was so awkward. I was trying to hide my face. And I was like, don't look at me. Why?
Wow. Yeah.
Because I didn't feel confident in who I was, but I'm this amazing human being. And there isn't anything externally that will ever fulfill you. But when you know who you are and you know that I'm a beautiful soul because God put me here just to exist.
Amen.
Come on.
Yes.
That's a game changer. You suddenly
You always
are
had that energy? You always...
No, are you crazy?
So when was the moment that you changed, that everything changed? At what age?
So I think when I fully was I can't do what I was doing was in 2020. I had a really bad car accident. And I was literally at dead stop at a stoplight.
Really?
I wasn't even driving, okay?
Wow.
And somebody fell asleep at the wheel, came over a barrier into my car. It was bad.
What?
It was on the news. It was crazy. So I walked out of that a different human being. It was like a switch turned on in my brain.
Wow.
And I was like, I can no longer function like this because I felt like God saved me in order to, if nothing else, just be happy. If I got nothing else out of this, I never helped another little girl realize how amazing she is.
Yeah.
At least I would be happy because I was in a place where I had a house and I had the car and I had the kids and I had the family and I was so miserable still.
Wow.
I was like, what is going on? And I couldn't, that moment was like, that's it. Hello, you weren't saved to just keep existing. Fully step in.
Wow. That's why we say things happen for a reason.
100%.
My click, I mean, everything changed for me when I started receiving therapy. I think that was that's why we have a therapist in the team now whoever needs it because it's super important. And I think the same thing. I thought the same thing. I'm here to be happy. I'm going to love myself more.
Yeah.
And you start creating that confidence with you.
Yeah.
And you feel great. Right now, I think I'm the most happy person.
Yeah.
And you could, my daughters can see that.
Yeah.
And they always say, Mom, we admire you so much because you're coming along all this way and not caring about what other people think about you because it's part of life. I mean, people are people because they experiences. People, they sometimes they're mean, but I mean, we need to understand that we have to give them more love. Yeah. So for me, that was the moment that changed my life. Tell us about your family. I know, and I heard this, and this is amazing. I know your family does a lot of buildings in Passaic County, and I know you do the design. Mm-hmm. I will love to go very deep on that because you just did a 250 unit building, and you bring the story from the town to those buildings, and for me, it is impressive. So tell us about that.
So first of all, I mean, my uncle and my father are incredible. Like the things that they have done and built to set the foundation for the rest of our family is absolutely magnificent. Like that's the word that I'm going to use because that's the truth.
Yeah.
The things that they had been through, and what they came from and where they are now makes me feel like, wow, I've lived such a privileged life in comparison. And that's also another reason, like that lineage that we're talking about, like I'm wearing my grandma's ring, like our family is very like deeply rooted in the core values that we family first and everything else, right? Like that's more important to us than anything. And my uncle had purchased this property, I think it was like through a tax sale or something like that. It was a long drawn out process. It took years to get the approvals, and it used to be there used to be train tracks on this property. It was in the news. They had a land swap with a neighboring town to get all this done. I mean, it was his labor of love for this project inspires me on a daily basis. Like the fact that he was able to accomplish that with the obstacles that were set is amazing. And he's like that. He's just his fortitude and his like one track mind. Like I want to do this thing and I'm going to do it and see it through fruition no matter what. And then he doesn't ask permission. And he jokes with me all the time. He's like, you're like me. Like, you don't ask permission. You just do what you're going to do. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. What's his name?
Fadi.
Fadi.
Oh. Yeah. And my dad's name is Jack. So, like, they're the brothers. Yeah. My dad's the oldest and my uncle's the youngest. There's two.
I was trying to look for a picture for your dad, but I mean, all your family members, they look so young. I was like, this couldn't be his dad.
It's probably one of the photos with my mom somewhere. But like they're amazing humans, and them doing that and allowing me to also like put a little bit of my spin on it. Like there was all these photos that were taken on site with the mayor, and when they were removing all the tracks finally from the property, that I was able to use and create like a beautiful like collaged wallpaper that we have in one of our lobbies, because I really wanted the statement of this used to be this part of the community, and we're going to like at least put something into the branding of these buildings so that you can remember what it was.
Wow.
And that's really important. And so like using components like that when we are doing branding, when we are, building communities, because 250 units is you building a community, right? Like there's storefronts on the bottom of one of the buildings. There's commercial spaces. Like there's things that are going in that are building up this community and cleaning up an area that was, at one point there was like people like squatting in the trains, like homeless people. I mean, it was really sad. And so like to clean all of that up and like build something new for the community that's still on the lower income housing side, but allows the community to have like, better amenities and things like that is amazing.
Yeah.
So
how many years it took from the beginning? When he purchased that land or that property until it was completed?
It's still not completed. We're on the final phase. But I mean, I think just to get the approvals because of the court situation that had to happen. If you didn't know this, train tracks are federal jurisdiction. So it's not even a state thing you can do. It has to go to federal court. So it was like, I think like 3 or some odd years process to just get that through before we could even put a shovel into the ground. So it was a long process. Not every project is like that lengthy, obviously. But there's been some interesting land purchases that he's done that I don't know that I would touch or anybody like even any of my cousins would be like, no, thank you. Like I think there was one he did, it was like a garbage dump, and then he did all the environmental stuff and got it approved and all this, and it became like I think it was like a 40 unit building or 36 unit building. So, and
your brother works, because I know he's an architect, right?
So my brother was studying architecture. He's no longer.
Oh, okay. Pow to him. No.
I actually tried to have my brother work for me, and he'll attest to this. I could not. He lasted about 2 weeks with me, and I was like, no, can't do it. He's so funny. I think he was very young, and I think my expectation was really high. And he's 11 years younger than me. And I was like, well, here's what you need to do today. Like, make these phone calls. And he's like, what do I say? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you say? Like, hello, my name is Joe from Samaan Design Group. I'm here to inquire about this order. Like, what do you mean? I have to teach you how to talk? Like, so, that was like the interesting component of working with my youngest brother. And my middle brother, who's a little bit younger than me, he's about, I think, like 5.5 years younger than me. He's in HVAC. He does HVAC. So everybody in my family does something in construction in one way or the other. My cousin Eli, who I'm very close with, he does all of the commercial mortgages for us and like does all the financial stuff. And my other cousin is studying architecture, his brother. And so we have like lawyers in the family, and we're like a community within ourselves.
You have everything in-house. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Going back to the building, how do you manage, so many units? I know the design must be the same.
Yeah.
But how do you create those projects for every single building? Those buildings are the same, or you have a different design for those buildings?
So for a community build like that, because they're within the same vicinity and what have you, we used the same template branding for each of the buildings, and we tweaked it and modified it based on different layouts because each building is like a slightly different layout.
Right.
So the lobbies are slightly different. The mail rooms are a little different, and the corridors might lay out differently. The units are almost all the same based on the buildings. And there's like a 2-unit and a 1-bed. So, a 2-bed unit and a 1-bed unit. So those are all like typically the same, and we just tweak based on that component. I think the hardest thing is when you are hiring a designer, do they understand like floor plan manipulation? Like when we got the first set of plans back and I looked at it, the architect at the time had a water heater closet in the dividing the kitchen and the and the living room, and I was like, who in the heck looked at this plan and sent this over? I was like, absolutely not.
Wow.
And I was like, no, we're going to rework this. We're going to put the water heater here. We're going to like put it in on this side so it's hidden, and take it out of the main living area, because that makes zero sense.
Of course.
So, understanding that you do need to know what you're doing, especially when you're doing that many units. Like, had somebody looked at that and not noticed it, that's a huge problem.
Right.
Not just from like a construction standpoint, because it makes it more difficult. And now you have to frame out this random closet that makes no sense in the middle of a space. The flow is off. And so you're going to have a harder time renting those units out. You're going to have a harder time getting people to like love it, because it's awkward. There's no nice fluidity anymore.
Right.
So you really need to understand how people live. And especially when you're on a condensed square footage, maximizing the square footage is so important. And typically in a lower income housing market, there are more people living in those units rather than less.
Right.
Whereas on the luxury side, even in a 2,500 square foot unit. It's like 2 people live there.
Wow.
Where, in these units, it's 900 to 1,000 square feet for a 2-bed. And there's probably like 4 to 6 people living in there easily. So you have to understand that they're trying to maximize their square footage and like storage space and how many people and all these things. And if the flow feels off,
wow,
you're kind of
so
like
you check
shooting
every
yourself in the
single
foot.
detail. I love that.
Absolutely.
Now you mentioned that you have, your whole family is in the business. Do you have a real estate agent in the business? Because I could be the
Yes.
You do? Who? Who is a
Yeah,
realtor?
so Eli actually also has his real estate
Really?
license.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And my brother, also the one that's in HVAC, he at one point had his license. But, if you ever come across a deal, you know who to call.
Kathy, tell us about the secret behind your success.
Oh, my gosh. There's so many things. So the support of my family.
Super important.
And sometimes the opposite support of my family. Like, you want to go to art school? What? So, understanding that regardless of what people say, regardless of outside forces, you have to be the core of everything. I didn't realize that, I think, even until the last 2 years, where I was still looking for somebody else to keep pushing me forward. And I think Amanda and yourself have been a great influence on me to really realize that you don't need other people to tell you to keep going. You just have to know and have the consistency and that mental fortitude to keep moving in the direction which is forward.
Right.
And never really look back from a standpoint of I wish I had that old thing, rather to look at it from where I was to now where I am.
I know.
And then continue to keep doing what you're doing. And
a lot of
never
people say
question that.
it is easy. Do you think it's easy to get to where you are right now?
Heck no.
Of course not.
No.
But a lot of people, they just sugarcoat everything and say, listen, you're just going to find your friend design client and make $20,000, $30,000 the first, month or 3 months. It doesn't
Sure.
happen
What
like that.
about the $100,000 loss I took last year? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are learning lessons along the way, and you have to understand that doesn't define you, and you can move forward and you can be exponentially more successful, even when the outside is telling you, hey, SOS, things are going wrong. You have to be like, it doesn't matter. I will keep moving forward. That's...
Amen. I love that. What advice would you give someone who is going to start a design business today?
Get ready for the ride of your life, which is the truth, because you have to not only know who you are, you have to be able to fumble and be okay with that. You have to learn psychology. You have to learn all sorts of things in order to not just design. You have to understand construction. You have to understand, how to acquire clients. You have to understand what contracts look like. You have to understand. So you are running a full business, but also you're working with so many people. We are at the focal of the real estate agent, the construction team, our own team, the client. The list goes on, right? The mill workers. If you do custom furniture like me, I have to work with factories. So the amount of people, you better have grade A people skills. And if you don't, you better read every psychology book you can possibly get your hands on, like me. And it was funny because when I walked in here, they have a book here that I recommend to a lot of people, which is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a fantastic book. And if you can also take his masterclass, highly recommend.
Really?
I actually recommend it to a lot of my friends who go into real estate. Because if you can learn those people skills, you can master anything. And when you are at the core of all these moving pieces, you have to really understand how to connect with people, how to understand their needs, how to communicate your needs. And it'll help you in your personal life. So there's an added bonus. You know what I mean?
How do you manage? How do you manage being a CEO, a mom, a friend, a girlfriend now, because now you're available? It's hard. For me, it's so hard that, we have a team, we have the office, we have my husband. my daughter is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it?
How do you do it? I think like you.
I think I have a double. I have a twin sister.
A twin. You have a twin. Maybe you have they should clone you. Maybe we'll have like three limbs. I think like most of us, the thought of, well, one, a lot of meditation.
Really?
Yes. Yes. You have to get really quiet sometimes because there's so much going on that you have to recenter and recenter and recenter and recenter. That's one. And I think like you, like therapy had been really helpful for me. And understanding that it's okay if you don't 24/7 have balance of all of those things. Sometimes it's a season of me taking a step back a little bit and not taking on so much at work because my kids need me a little bit extra. I think going through my divorce really showed me that. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm doing great in the business, but like my kids really need me right now. So I had to shift my focus, and the business did suffer for it, but my kids didn't. And that was more important to me. And now that they're okay and they're like a little bit more in line with where they feel safe, they feel like okay with everything, now I can like shift a little bit more back into growth mode. And that takes a lot of effort and a lot of focus. And sometimes as women, because we are nurturing, because we want to love everyone and pour ourselves into everything that we're doing, like you mentioned, you know, being somebody's like partner, that also requires you to know who you are. And if the other person doesn't want to show up for you, you don't like move yourself toward them.
Right.
You stay grounded in who you are and allow that other person to either meet you there or exit your life.
Right.
I think we tend to, as women, like want to keep pouring, but you need to pour into yourself, your own meditation, your own life, and then allow you to pour out from overflow rather than from a half full cup of like, oh no, I'm already depleted. If I keep pouring out, there's going to be an empty cup. And when you pour into yourself, you can then pour out into your kids and your team and your friends. And your friends will sometimes forgive you if you don't text them back for a week because like you're losing your hair.
Of course.
So understanding that you're having a human experience and that's okay. And you're not going to be perfect. And your friends who love you will forgive you
100%.
because we're all going through different things at different times. And that's okay.
And people need to understand that.
Yeah.
What was the pivot moment or the worst moment that you have? I'm quitting. This is said. I'm not going to follow this dream. I'm just going back what I was doing. Do you ever had that moment? Because I think we as a business woman, we always have those moments. I say, okay, listen, this is it. I'm not
every day at 3 p.m. You know, I think we have those moments. I think not just women, like any entrepreneur. Yeah. I'm sure, you know, anybody.
But do you have any special moment that you cry and say, listen.
Yeah, girl. This is not for me.
This is not for me.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a really tough client I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
That was happening while I was getting divorced, while everything felt like it was coming apart. And I'm like, is my business worth all of this? And I was like, I don't know how to move forward from here. And I remember, it's going to be a little vulnerable for me, but I remember my kids had gone back to their dad's house and I was alone, and I was dating somebody for a little bit, and we like split ways, and had that client like basically beating me up all day long via text. And I cried for 2 hours on my kitchen floor. I just laid there, kitchen floor, cried. And I was like, I don't know what the heck is going on. If I had known what I know now, then, I mean, I'd have been like, just go take a shower. You're going to be fine. But in that moment, it felt so heavy. And I remember like in my body, it felt so uncomfortable. And I was like, it had to pour out because I felt so much pressure, so much stress, so much financial stuff. And, I walked away from my marriage because I didn't want to fight him in court and I didn't want to do all these nonsense things that people do. I had this new financial burden that I didn't have before because he was a provider in the monetary, capacity. And that was an amazing thing that he was, allowed our family to have. And I would never, say that he didn't contribute in that way because he would work overtime to make sure we were taken care of. And I had this new financial burden that I didn't have before.
Right.
And it felt so heavy.
Wow.
And I was like, I need to get my shit together. Sorry for cursing, but that's what it felt like. It was like, you need to figure out what's going on. And I think that in that moment was another moment where I asked God for guidance. I was like, if I'm supposed to keep going,
send me a signal.
And I do that a lot where I'm like,
wow.
if I'm supposed to keep going or if this is meant, bring the right thing to me rather than have me chase the thing that I want. Here's a great story for you. We're sitting here having a podcast. And so this is why it's relevant. I think a year ago, I wanted to get on more podcasts. And I was like, okay. And I had a conversation, I think with Devin or Amanda or someone. And I was like, I want to be on more podcasts. Like it'd be fun just to like talk to people, hear their stories, like, do this. And I talked to Devin and she told me, I used to work for a podcast company that would like schedule people and all this stuff. And she's like, reach out to people and do all these things. And I was like, that sounds like more work. I don't want it. So I was like, if it's supposed to be for me, then I will, those things will come to me. And within like 2 months, I was asked to be on 3 podcasts. And then somebody reached out to me to go to Vegas to record a podcast. And then you reached out to me. And then this other person reached out to me. And now all of a sudden I'm on all these podcasts and I didn't do anything. Right. God brought those things to me.
Amen.
And when we trust the process sometimes and lean back rather than lean in, because a lot of the noise right now is do. You have to chase all the things you want. And it's like, no. Sometimes you can just lean back a little and allow the good stuff to come in toward you that are meant for you. And that's, for most people, super hard because you have to trust.
You need to have a lot of faith.
Yes.
I really want to thank you because you sharing that personal story. It is great for the audience because, people see us and they think that, we make whatever we make is very simple. We'll go through a lot. This business or any business is not easy. But for you sharing, like you connect people right away because they want to see who is Kathy. Yeah. Like I know you're a businesswoman. You're a top. Every time that I see this picture, this is my camera. She is
Barbie.
Impressive. Oh my God. Whenever I need motivation, I just look at your picture and say, okay, I love her. So your story inspired a lot of people, even because sometimes we don't believe that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just live our life like a normal day, but it's really a blessing. And you having that faith that you say, everything is going to be fine, that we have to keep moving on because we have a mission, a vision. God has something ready for us. It is incredible, amazing. But for us to get to that point, it takes us time.
A little bit.
It takes us time, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. Okay. Where do you see Samaan Design Group? And tell us about the second company that you have, because I just knew about one company, but now you mentioned you have a second company. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So we have Samaan Design Group Construction, which is SDGC. We do the build out for some of our private clients. It's a separate service that we offer. if they would like us to do that component. We have all of our subs. We have all of our, all of our vendors that we are able to take our designs and bring them to fruition on the build out side. I only do that locally. Design I do globally, but the construction for now, I don't want to say never.
How do you feel like when you say I do this globally?
Amazing. I've always known that I've wanted a global business since I was very young. I even had taken 2 semesters of business school at Seton Hall for international business. Like I've always known that whatever I was going to do was going to have bigger impact because I want little girls all over the world to see this photo of me and say, if she can do it and she came from, immigrant parents and she came from whatever, then I can also. And I think that's really, really, really important. And I've met so many people along the way that have had similar experiences that are like, we all need to tell our stories more. And that's really impactwant. That's why I constantly tell you, please share your story more. More people need to hear it.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to ask you something very personal.
Sure.
And you could share it, or if not, it's okay. But I know going through a divorce, it is, I cannot even imagine. But with your kids, what is the process is being like for your kids?
I will say that both him and I really put the kids first.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful to him, to God, to all the beings that allowed that to be. And I actually said to him at one point, I was like, there is no scenario where you and I aren't friends. So if you were thinking that there was going to be a different scenario, you can leave that out of your mind. And he was like, okay, you're delusional. And I was like, no, I'm not. We have to be friends for our kids. And I think setting that intention up front allowed us to put the kids before our own feelings. And most people going through a divorce, and this is what I will say, it's a choice the way you handle it. You always have a choice the way you handle everything in life. The adversities of crying on your kitchen floor for 2 hours is the same. If you're going through something like that, you can be like, I choose to not spend $300,000 in 3 years of my life battling you in court for no reason, and walk away, 1, with my dignity, 2, with peace of mind, and 3, knowing that I put my children's lives ahead of my own in this particular instance because that was more important than who was the winner. Because if you need to be the winner and he needs to be the winner in that situation, everybody loses. No one's going to win. And understanding that you having the last say, and I know I'm probably going to trigger a lot of people because, when you've been in an infidelity situation, hit the mic, sorry. If you've been in an infidelity situation, I think it's harder to have the less visceral component of like, I have so much anger and resentment towards you that I just want you to pay for the suffering that I have felt. I will say that never leads you down a great path, in that you're going to continue your own suffering by not leading with forgiveness. And that wasn't my situation. And I'm very grateful that wasn't my situation. We had a buttload of other things that we got divorced over. But I think I'm mentioning that because I do have friends that had other situations. And I saw how that played out. And their kids are the ones that suffered the most. And I have friends who have been divorced for 6-7 years, and one of the partners is still miserable about it. And it's like, do you really want to be miserable for 6, 7, 8, a decade before you wake up and realize that you just passed 10 years of your life being so uncomfortably miserable that you didn't have joy every single day? Like, that's sad to me. That makes my heart hurt for other people because you're just wasting the precious time that God has given you, or the precious time we have here on earth in the most useless way.
Yeah.
You're not being helpful to yourself in those moments. And I think because we were both able to put our egos aside, the big E word.
That's amazing.
I think it was great for our children. Yeah.
It's important. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks for asking that very hard question.
No, because I think it is important. And especially in our culture, we don't see that. Yeah. Like divorces turned into a mess. Like I never seen a divorce that everything goes well, that they're friends, that they look up, because it's tough. I mean, they do have so angry inside. They're so angry. The ego is higher than the Empire State Building. So it doesn't work like that. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's do some more fun questions. I know you love black. Why is the reason that you love black?
I don't know that I love black. I think I started the company wanting to be more bold and at the time having more of a monochromatic statement. I don't love black in that context anymore, but I do think that black holds a lot of power. And so when I started the business, it was like black, even when I would wear things, I would wear black a lot because it allowed me to feel powerful without, it was like my armor. And so I was not only equipping my body with armor, I was equipping my spaces with the armor. And when you want to have boldness, when you want to feel powerful, blacks, navy blues, dark charcoal grays, they all hold a abundance of power. And so you'll see a lot of people that are trying to have more control or power in their life bring that color into their environment and their clothing. So it's a very visceral choice. But if you kind of look now at the migration of that, you can see that I don't wear black a lot anymore at all. I'm usually wearing yellow or white, or today I'm wearing like pastels and greens. And it allows you to step into other parts of yourself through that, through color, and when we talk about neuroscience, that's a huge proponent of neuroscience, allowing your mind to have a repetitive instance where it reminds you of power or reminds you of sunshine or reminds you of happiness. You pull those things into your space without even realizing it sometimes. So when you look at somebody's home or their office, you can tell where they're at mentally sometimes.
Really?
Because of their spaces. So if it's chaotic and there's a lot of mess everywhere, you can tell that their mind is not clear. It's not free. And I can tell you when my home is messy, my brain is probably fried. And I'm a very clean person. I like things like neat and organized. And my mom laughs because before, when I was younger, you couldn't pay me to clean my room. Like it was a disaster. Really? It'd be like piles of things on the floor, on the desk. I would paint the walls with murals. It was like my brain just wanted to unload, and it unloaded in my space. And now because I have different tools and different perspectives, I'm able to utilize color and different components differently now. Like it's just, it gives a different layer to what you're doing, how you're feeling, all those things interplay, which is
love it.
Crazy, but amazing.
Oh, makes sense. Whenever you want to design a property, what is your favorite place? The kitchen, the bedrooms? Like you. I know that you go by the client.
Yes.
But you, like what you put more energy into?
For me, the kitchen for sure.
Really?
And here's why. I think for me, food, I grew up in a family that shows love by cooking. We're always in the kitchen. We're always making something. We're always feeding each other. We're always like, here, taste this thing I made. Or we share recipes. We congregate in the kitchen. It's such a community space. And we spend so much time there that typically for me, because I associate it with community, I associate it with warmth and love and all these things, I feel like I pour the most energy there. Like, how do we make it the place we all want to hang out when we already do? So like, how do we make it elevated so we can enjoy the atmosphere and cooking? Like, nobody wants to cook in a dingy, gross kitchen and spend 4 hours there.
That's great. If you weren't a designer, what would you be? A model. Guarantee a model.
No, I think I would.
I love the way that you, you have to follow her on Instagram. What's your,
I have
how
2 pages. Yes. You can find me on the Kathy Samaan, and then Samaan Design Group.
Oh my God, you have to follow her. Your Instagram is amazing.
Thank you.
I think you should be a model because, perfection is the word for you.
I love
everything.
It. Thank you. I appreciate you. I think I honestly, to answer your question, besides being a model, I would say 2 things. One, a motivational speaker, I think.
I love that.
And possibly, because this is where I started, but in fashion. I think I would be either a clothing designer or some kind of like buyer for brands, because I really love fashion. I think we can express ourselves not with just our space, but with what we wear. And so, and a lot of what I do actually combines both, which is why I love doing this. I can wear awesome outfits in my spaces and take photos. I can be Barbie for the day. And I think that I've incorporated all of that into my business.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Kathy, what is one mistake that helped you grow the most?
Okay. So this is a personal story, not a business story. Okay. But I had a moment with my son where we were in the car and he was, I think 8 at the time, 8 or 9. So just a couple of years ago. And I had my younger son in the car who fell asleep, and I was like, okay, time to go into your tennis lesson. Yes. And I was like in front of the door. It's like 5 feet to the door, literally. And he wouldn't get out of the car. And I was like, buddy, like, what's going on? He's like, I don't want to go inside without you. And I'm like, dude, you're 8 years old. You can't walk 5 feet. Like, what the heck? What am I doing wrong as a parent that you can't walk into a place, feel confident about yourself? Like, I'm failing as a mother. Like, I just was like in my head, I was like, I suck as a mom. I'm not doing anything right. He can't even walk 5 feet, like, without, needing me. And I was beside myself. I was like, how can I have this kid face life adversity if he can't even walk into his tennis lesson by himself? And I made it this thing in my head that was like, he's never going to be able to face adversity and all these things. And it ensued this enormous fight, like epic level. Wow. Should be a movie. Like, it was screaming, crying. Wow. He had to call his dad to come. It was crazy sauce. I mean, if somebody saw that, they'd be like, yo, what? And I remember going to therapy that week, and I told the therapist about this. And she was like, well, first, we're going to need to manage the way you reacted to him not wanting to go inside. I was like, okay. And she's like, also, why do you think your adversity has to be his adversity? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, your adversity is going to be completely different than his adversity. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, I'm crazy pants. That mistake of exploding like that and having that huge fight and like him crying and me crying and the whole meltdown, I was like, oh my gosh. Wow. I saw that completely differently. And I made up this, and I realized in that moment the way our mind makes up stories. Instead of being like, my kid is just having a moment that's like 2 seconds where he's like, I just want my mom right now.
Of course. Walk with me.
Because maybe it's like I'm feeling today like like we have days where we're feeling amazing, and then some days we're like, no, I need support right now. And instead of me being like, what does he need right now? I was like, this is the defining moment of your life. Walking
if I don't
into
change
tennis.
that now, forget it.
I was
it's
like,
going to be the same direction as his life.
So I made it this huge thing. And I probably would have gotten him to go inside if I had just for a moment realized like, hey, buddy, what is it that you really need right now? What's making you feel uncomfortable to walk in by yourself? Instead of being in a mental place where I could ask that question as a mother. So when we talk about learning how to handle people, I've been on this journey a while. And that mistake helped me grow in ways that I cannot explain. It was one of those pivotal moments that I recall over and over again. So when I want to react now, I don't. I actually take a moment and step back in every situation.
A deep breath, yes.
Deep breath, not just with my kids, with anybody that I'm dating, with my friendships, with
your employees.
my employees, with everyone.
Yes.
Because I'm like, my adversity is not their adversity.
Yes, I love that.
And it's such a good reminder to take a step back.
It's a great lesson. I love that.
Yeah.
Favorite city to design or inspiration?
Ooh. I'm going to say Damascus, which is the capital of Syria.
Really? Why?
Yes. One, when I went there for the first time, there's so much rich, beautiful architecture that the world doesn't get to see because of what was going on. And I had never been until I was like 22, I think, when we first went. I had gone with my ex-husband. And I got to really see it firsthand. Like you see photos, but it's this richness of like centuries old architecture. I mean, I saw one of the oldest cities in the world there, and it was so viscerally impactful.
Wow.
And I was like, this is part of my heritage. This is where I come from. And to be able to use that in my designs now, like I do a lot of like intentionality, and I've designed an entire collection of furniture that I'm working on launching. And it's all based around Syrian architecture. And so for me, being able to take my heritage and my legacy and move it into our century and like bring it into a more modern context is a really beautiful way that I get to leave my stamp on the world.
Wow.
So
that's the legacy that you want to.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the go outfit when meeting a new client?
Go-to outfit? This is going to sound hilarious, but I actually, one, it's typically white. I just feel like every time I see the best version of myself, she's in white. But the other thing that I tend to do is sometimes I'll look at the client scope, because we usually have a call first. And I'll actually wear something that resonates with their style. So I went to a client's house one time, and she really kept talking about loving light blue. And I didn't realize I did this until I got there. But I remember that morning, I was like, I don't know what I feel. And my closet's color coordinated. So it's rainbow on the top, like white into black on the top, and then rainbow on the bottom. So I have everything color coordinated. And I was like, what do I feel like wearing? Because that's what I do. I do that every morning. Today I was like, I feel like soft pastels and green jewelry. And so, I remember being like, oh, I think I want to wear this light blue dress and like this blazer. So I put it on and I get to my meeting. And I walk in, and she's like, oh my God, I love your light blue dress. Where'd you get it? It's my favorite color. And I remember her saying that on the call, and I was like, oh my God, I did this. I channeled her energy. I was like, I didn't even remember that it was her favorite color, but I think in the back of my mind, because that's how my brain works, I try to connect with people all the time to make them feel comfortable so that I can unpack their needs. Again, like that's really at the core of everything that I do. And so I must have innately remembered that and drew that color in. And then she was like, oh my God, you are my favorite color. Like, I was like, oh, I did that.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll even without even thinking, I'll do that because it's instinctually being a person who wants to understand other people. You're constantly probably in the back of your mind thinking about them before yourself sometimes. But
I love it.
Yeah.
Kathy, we are about to finish this interview. What is next for you?
Oh my gosh. What's next?
What's next? Because I'm pretty sure within a couple of years from now, you're going to see this video. And I'm pretty sure, you know, the way that I think is if we put it out there, it's going to happen regardless. No matter what, you have to make it happen. Yeah. So what is next for you?
Besides working all over the world and having a collaboration with Lim Bances. I think for me, I want to really get to the point in my life where it's not just me building a business, but I have a true partnership that is helping other people. Like not just me by myself, but like having my kids involved and having a partner who's really like on the same mission of building not just a beautiful life, but speaking out about where we come from and all the things that we want to inspire other people to do. And if that means not just growing the business, but coming on more podcasts or speaking more or telling my story more to help more people, then that's what I'll do. Yeah. And I'll do that through understanding that that's what needs to be done. And you don't even really realize you're doing it.
Right.
But I definitely want to grow this business further, work in Dubai, work in Italy.
You ever been to Dubai?
I have once. I need to go back. It's been a very long time. And like I said, I'm talking to, people who want to collaborate. And that's my goal always, is to find amazing partnerships where I can collaborate, where they shine and I shine. And I think a lot of us are on that mission. And
that's amazing.
I can see you being the next Tony Robbins, but the much more sassy version. You know what I mean?
My husband say you're Tonya.
Yes.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sharing your story, for sharing your personal life, which is important for the audience to really know who you are. I think you inspire a lot of people, and especially now that they know you more. Thank you for coming to my podcast. And I really appreciate that you being a great friend. Like you have the most beautiful heart. And I cannot tell, I was speaking with Amanda the other day. I was like, okay, I love Kathy so much because she has the most beautiful heart. And once again, to find someone like you, it is tough in this business because there is a lot of hate out there. And thank you. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for everything that you do for me, for the friends. And I love you.
I love you.
And just share one more time your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Do you have TikTok?
I do, but I don't really use it.
Why not?
I should.
Of course.
I've been trying to figure out which platforms work the best, especially for short form, but I'll figure it out. Maybe you'll be inspired by you. You're always on TikTok. But my Instagram is the Kathy Samaan. I also have Samaan Design Group. You can find us on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, hopefully more TikTok.
I love it.
But thank you for having me and to find other amazing women who are inspiring, who lead from the heart, who trust the process, trust God. Like that's amazing.
Amen.
And I'm all for it. And the more women that I'm around that can lead with their beautiful souls and their inspiring stories, like, please let me help you share your story somehow. I'm like, yes.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you so much for our sponsors, Altera Home Loans, Annie Mac, Hometown Talent Insurance, and also Estancia Restaurant. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.